some months ago, we conceptualized the idea of a ER&D Vision 2030 report. The question that was on top of mind for the folks at NASSCOM, for us at BCG, and for many of the industry leaders that were involved was, what is the overall ER&D intensity of spend, especially post-COVID, and how will that shape up in this decade? Second, will India's business ER&D sourcing spend shape up differently? While India is doing well in this space today, will it strengthen its position, or will some unknown competitor come in and grab a little bit of that share? After weeks of industry discussions spanning some 280 plus surveys and many brainstorming sessions, our perspective outlined that India's outlook looks bright. And in fact, several megatrends point to a healthy increase in ER&D spending intensity across the globe. Good day, my name is Snehil Gambhir, and I'm a partner and director at BCG India. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of sitting down virtually with a set of global leaders in the automotive space and to talk about many things around technology, digital, regulatory, and sourcing trends in the automotive space. A warm welcome to all of you for this NASSCOM BCG Automotive Roundtable. Let me take a moment to introduce all of our guests in no particular order. I'll start with Lata first. Lata Chembrakalam is the Vice President and the head of the Technical Center India for Continental Automotive. She's a dynamic business leader with close to 3 decades of experience and leads a team of over 6,000 engineers based out of Bangalore. Her team focuses on areas like advanced mobility, safety, vehicle networking, and many other information business areas. Lata is an executive coach, has a passion for music, and is an avid traveler. Next up is Kishore Patil, the co-founder, CEO, and managing director of KPIT Technologies, one of the largest software integration partners to the global automotive and mobility industry. Kishore is a dynamic business leader. He's been awarded many different awards, including top CEO. And besides work, he is an avid sports enthusiast, particularly in the areas of tennis, to which he lends his time and effort and passion, besides also dabbling in movies and animation, from what I learned. Kishore, welcome as well. Last but not least is Debashish Niyogi. Debashish is the managing director of Renault Nissan Technology and Business Center India Limited. Debashish has over 30 years of experience in the auto industry, having worked across several automotive leaders in India and globally. He leads a dedicated team of over 10,000 people across Chennai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. And Renault Nissan Tech is one of the largest next-gen auto tech centers in India. And perhaps I can get you here, Debashish, to tell us a little bit about a passion of yours, because I couldn't find anything.
My passion is traveling. Obviously, I am an auto enthusiast, so like traveling long distances and taking a lot of photographs wherever I go.
Wonderful. Thank you, and welcome to all 3 of you. Let me kickstart the conversation with my first question to Kishore. And Kishore, the NASSCOM BCG report that I mentioned had outlined a growth of almost 9% CAGR until the end of the decade in what we call the ER&D spend in the auto industry. Talk to us both from the hat of the ER&D Council Chair as well as the CEO and MD of KPIT. How do you see the global auto industry evolving in the nature of the tech trends and advancements, with cars becoming code on wheels, and also not just the softwareization, but also the debate of the ICE versus the EV, etc.?
So, thank you. Thank you for having me here. Overall, if I look at it, more than agree that automotive is going through one of its transformation globally. And initially, if you look at last few years, the transformation was more about softwareization, largely around changing of the architecture, moving towards first ownership of the software. The second is about the architecture of the software, which may be distributed to centralize. And this was the really main part, and that was really to, if I had to put it in some simple way, they were trying to catch up with the Tesla architecture, and of course, trying to move forward in each, creating a differentiation. And but I think that was a long back. It looks like a long back, but things have changed very fast. And of course, now there is a bigger elephant in the room, that is China competition. So it is about the cost, how you can really reduce the cost, how can we reduce the time there. And of course, this is supported not only by these not these two trends, which are the major business issues, but fundamentally it means electrification, whichever way you come up, or you can call it sustainability part, but it's basically electrification part. Then basically autonomous and digitalization, and now that AI, right? So these are the disruptions in the technology side or this side. Now, uh, what has happened also is many people have taken in the past bets on electrification, which was more on pure electric, specifically the Western world. And suddenly, the cost competitiveness, the money, what they intended to make, the way the competition worked out, they realized they cannot make enough money only with this. And there were multiple reasons, looking at the demand, looking at the competition. They need multiple options. So hybrid has come up as one option, so that they can also, uh, you know, uh, they can also fulfill their requirements in terms of commitment to sustainability goals, what they have. So it's an evolving phase, and then there are fuel cells, and then there are other technologies which are coming up. So it's not going to be, people realize it's not going to be like one moving to electrification, pure electric. It's going to be multiple options for multiple segment. And specifically, I mean, I'm just to take a very quick example. If you have to move into rural areas, many countries don't have enough infrastructure, then hybrid makes sense to go with, or some of those kind of things. So, so one is on this electrification part. The second is, as I mentioned to you, about autonomy. Autonomous has been there, but the adoption has been to everybody's expectation has been slow. And the reason was, I don't think there was an issue about the pure technology. In some sense, yes, but the more importantly is how it can be made more reliable. And now I guess there is a more holistic approaches which have been now put forward. So that was the second part. And of course, the AI and the digital part to more for personalization and customization of vehicle, that has come up. So these are some of the trends. And I do believe that uh, different part of the globe have different focus to some extent, little bit. It doesn't, you can't say it is the same. And so I think Western more focused earlier on software. Of course, they will have to continue to focus on that, but there are other things they have to catch up. China focus more on electrification and other area. They have a software to catch up. So there are multiple things which are happening at the same time. So every OEM, every region, they have their own priorities. But overall, I can say that I completely agree. There is a lot of opportunities spent, and that's the only way they can differentiate their products.
Wonderful. I think, Lata, let me come to you next. As a tier one, Continental's tagline is future in motion, and the company is a very key part of the ecosystem. And perhaps with the vision that Kishore outlined, even has a broader play in the auto industry of the future. What are the emerging technology areas that you and your company are focusing on globally that are going to become scalable and mainstream in this decade? So in the next 5 to 6 years, and how do you see your customers preparing to adopt these technologies?
Yeah, thank you for this question and thank you for having me here. I agree with Kishore's view on how the trends are shaping. And shaping the future of mobility is what drives us in Continental. And for us, mobility means more than just getting from one place to another. Yeah, it is the how is very decisive. And it is the interplay of the latest and the most advanced innovation to create an exciting driving experience. That's what we are aiming for. And if you look at it, the safe mobility, autonomous mobility, connected mobility, and electric are all the trends that we are also betting on at this point of time. So, coming to the overall outlook, three things are very important: joy of use, ease of use, and safety. And our unique solutions ensure that driving pleasure and safety do not have to be compromised. It has to go hand in hand. And that's what the new gen is also quite looking for. And combining the convenient design approaches, which the with the latest technologies, we create an advanced and appealing surroundings for passengers to enjoy a highly personalized space for travel. I think that's what we all are aiming for in one way or the other. And another overarching goal for Continental is what we call vision, with Vision Zero, which is the world without deaths, injuries, or traffic accidents. Yeah, which means zero deaths, zero injuries, and zero traffic accidents. And we have several technologies that create safe mobility for all the users in the future, and we are continuing to invest in this area in a big way. Again, I agree to what Kishore told. Technologies around clean and sustainable mobility are being enhanced further across the globe with continued focus on electric as well as the hybrid vehicles. And Continental also developed a lot of innovation to support the requirement of customers around these areas of vehicle safety, battery, sensors, information management, and even tires. Conti also has the tires business to elevate this holistic electrification journey, right? The other important topic which is happening now is again the electrification, the architecture of the vehicle itself, which is changing now. And there is a lot to do for all the tier ones as well as the OEMs in this phase. Software defined vehicle is the next, coming in thing, or I think I would say that the journey has already started. And the previously self contained hardware centric architecture of the vehicle is being redefined, where it aligns itself with the software and open up thanks to the connectivity and the over the air updates which are coming in, right? So the result is currently a comprehensive ecosystem from the road to the cloud. And for the drivers, the vehicle should more and more feel like a smartphone on wheels. And it has to offer an increasingly safe, exciting, and an autonomous mobility experience. And what we do at Continental is we offer hardware, software, and the service modules to get this software defined vehicle on the road. And we are also partnering with, for example, many partners like Google and Amazon and so on for this data driven development, then multiple testing and validation tools for the cybersecurity and so on. So, just to give two examples where the mobility is going, one is some of the specific things that we showcased in KES in Las Vegas. One was actually a first automotive display embedded in a transparent Swarovski crystal, yeah, which won an innovation award. So this is another dimension of it. Another one coming to the safety was our innovated automated parking solution with radar. So we call it an RVP, a radar vision parking. So the industry is going in all ways, luxury segments, normal segments, safety, and so on. And to make all this reality, we need a lot of technologies around, as all of us know, which IoT, data analytics, AI, cloud computing, 5G. Yeah, and I think as a center in India, we are also focusing on all these technologies. And being in India, I should not leave out the two-wheeler part, because India being the largest two-wheeler market in the world, we have necessitated the prioritization for safer technologies for the two-wheelers also. For example, a high-end solution. We are in-house developing a high-end solution for two-wheeler rider assistance. We call it an advanced rider assistance system. It has got a lot of potential in market in India. So this is something which we are working on in a nutshell, Snehal.
Super. Lata, thank you. I love the part about from the road to the cloud. And let me move to Debashish and let's get a perspective from an OEM lens. And no surprise, around the mobility aspects that both of my panelists have said before. The tagline for Renault Nissan is driving the future of mobility as well. So build on that theme of innovation for me, Debashish. And how are you positioning RNTBCI in this new world? And as a leader, what are some of the automotive technology innovations and investments that both more broadly RNTBCI is working on and more broadly the parent is also focusing on, please?
A very relevant question. First of all, thank you for having me in this debate. I would say that innovation is a key part for any auto GCC, considering the huge transformation which is happening in auto industry. In RNTPCI, we are working on a 360-degree concept of innovation. 360-degree means we are having an innovative environment inside the company through hackathons and inathons to have ideas on the table which could feed the future features or services in the car. So we work closely with our sales and business functions in terms of the key features they are expecting in the car, but also some new features which could be first in segment or best in segment. This is the motto. How we can bring exciting features never seen in the cars or being the best in the market. So, of course, internal innovation is key, but today the automotive industry is sort of an industry of industry, I would say. The automotive company is no longer making cars and servicing cars. It's also services in and around the car. And hence, more and more revenue streams are attached to the automotive company. Of course, selling is major part of it, servicing is major part of it. But in my view, 30% of future revenue in a typical OEM will come from services. And that's where the softwareization is playing a key role, as Kishore explained and Lata explained. And SDV is playing a major role. Now, coming back to innovation, we have to engage the ecosystem of India, and that's where we are here in India. So we have three axes of external innovation, as I say. The first axis is, of course, working with our automotive partners, Continental being one of them, KPIT also we engage in software development. So the ecosystem of supplier partners, we have tech shows, and then we try to co-create features and services working with the supplier partners. So this is one axis. The second axis is India being the country of the second largest startup ecosystem in the world. We do startup days on specific themes. For example, electrification, connected cars, cybersecurity is another area which is very important for us. So on all these specific areas, we engage with the startup communities. And then we try to sponsor some POCs. And then from POCs, our idea is to bring it in our cars in India, but also making sense for other markets where Renault Nissan cars are sold. So I would say that innovation is holistic in nature, 360-degree approach, not only within the company, but also engaging with the ecosystem, which is very strong in India with the startups. And the third axis is universities. For sure, we have to engage the young population in order to bring breakthrough ideas because a big portion of our customers are the new generation. And through the universities, we are also engaging in specific inathons in order to feed the pipeline of innovative ideas. On the GCC front, on innovation, India is very much in the global map as being considered one of the countries where creative labs are set for both Renault Nissan in my center. Apart from, Korea, Israel, we have also innovation centers in US and Europe. India is being looked upon as a specific ecosystem which brings a lot of software skills And that's where I think services in and around the car, India will play a major role. But also, when we talk about competitive solutions and bringing the features at a very competitive rate, I think the frugal mindset and the innovative mindset of India is very important. That how we can bring the features at a competitive price, adding value, but also being competitive. So I think India has key assets in software, but also the way we do car development with a very optimization and more value addition at a competitive cost brings a lot of value to both Renault and Nissan globally.
Wonderful. I think this is a great start off. And, let me just build on this. Our report, actually, in our survey, we asked respondents to pick their top three ER&D priorities for the next decade. Electrification and all types of EV or XEV, was the top choice of 60%, followed by AV and connected mobility at 53%, and then followed by software and connectivity at 38%. So I think it resonates pretty much to what you said. But Lata, let me just ask you, is there something amongst these choices that you find different, or are you aligned with the numbers? And I'll ask Kishore and Debashish to give a quick one-line answer for that as well. Is there anything missing from a priority of what you think the global leaders and global consumers are wanting and the CTOs across the globe are putting money behind?
No, I think I completely align with this. I think this is a kind of view which is coming in from the industry. Can't be wrong for sure. The disruptive new technologies which involves or evolving the consumer behavior as well as the regulatory changes has actually completely changed the structure and working of the automotive sector. If you look at it in the last decade, right, and these are actually finally resulting in this four disruptive technology driven trends, as we call it: autonomous mobility, connected, shared, and electric. And I think all of us are actually betting big on these mega trends and has the technology and the products to cater of all these. The interesting part is the moving target. It evolves day by day, and the importance of the software for vehicles also will increase significantly with new features getting added, and the coming generations of the vehicles are increasingly characterized by the software enabled function. So I mean, we all have to catch up. We all have to innovate, co-create in the future. That's what I would say.
Super. Kishore, any thing that stood out to you? Just a one line on what you think you're hearing from the OEMs you serve across the globe?
Absolutely. These are the trends. The only part I may want to add, because KPIT comes as an independent player, not connected with a OEM specifically or a tier one. So apart from this, I guess the overall infrastructure or in order to enablement for all this, there's operating system, there's a middleware, there are tools which needs to be built, and there are certain methodologies to be built in terms of are areas such as validation and many of those areas in the new world, and that is actually very important to realize what everyone is saying, all these features and etc. It's very important to do that, but it is not a it is something which companies like us or independent companies or those can do and bring to the table, and that's a area because that will decide whether some of this vision will actually realize or not. So
Got it.
that is one area. And the last but not the least, I may say, while all these are absolutely important, now the big part is about the AI, how AI can really differentiate and change what people are doing, specifically to differentiate their products, uh, also to bring the customization for the consumers and reduce the cost and time. So I think that's absolutely that's exactly the areas where they are working. But these are the areas which are very important to enable it.
Super. Debashish, anything out of the ordinary for Renault Nissan?
I would totally agree with the trends which my colleagues have mentioned. Just what we are also careful is when we integrate technologies in the car, the customer experience is the top priority for us. How we can enable this technology, but give a seamless experience to the customer. So CX is quite important underlying all these technologies, and somewhere the human machine interface is also very important to give a very good experience to the cars, because I've seen that we should avoid to overdo technology and confuse the customer. So it's very important that we do technology evolution in the cars, but keeping customer in mind. This is something which we are very cognizant at in Renault Nissan.
Super. Lata, we're about 15 odd minutes in, and I think people will be surprised that we haven't uttered the word Gen AI yet. So here it is. Right. Can you tell me a little bit about what do you believe is a facet of Gen AI that is the most impactful in the customer-facing domains that your global CTO teams at Continental are working on? And of course, what specifically around that are you and your teams doing in India?
Okay. On a lighter note, I would say that the genie called Gen AI is out of the bottle, right? So it is up to us to use it to the good or for the bad. And I think all of us are here to use it for the good. And it's kind of disrupting all areas, including research and development, vehicle design, automotive manufacturing, quality control, testing and validation, personalized recommendations to allow customer purchase, yeah, and predictive maintenance, navigation. If you ask me, Snail, which is the area in automotive it is not touching, I think it's very, very difficult to find. And I think it is kind of reshaping the automotive landscape, infusing the vehicles with a good amount of intelligence and creating the personalized driving experience that kind of adapt to the individual preferences and need. So, which means that the era of inflexible and standard interfaces has ended, and the vehicles can adjust their aesthetics, their displays, their controls, offering a fully customizable experience that kind of seamlessly aligns with the user's preferences and personality, right? So I feel very strongly that by leveraging the machine learning capabilities and Gen AI, which kind of continuously learn the driver's behavior, allowing their assistant systems to adapt accordingly. That's very important. So, which means that we can actually, it can result even in an intelligent co pilot that offers real time safety support and tailor its approach to suit the individual driving style and habit, and even define what kind of insurance the person can take. So, it's going to that level. And this is a market which is really going to increase, and I think the projections say that it could be more than 2000 plus million euros by 2032. So that's the kind of changes that we are seeing. So just to give an example specifically from Continental, one example which can connect it to the user, we have something which is called a Gen AI voice assistant, which we integrated to the smart cockpit HPC. So we had, partnered with Google Cloud to unveil a new era of personalized travel, as we call it. So the theme is called Talking Instead of Typing, and this is something we launched in KES 2024. So here, what we do is it's a seamless integration of the Google's Cloud's conversational and Gen AI, and it is integrated into our Continental Smart Cockpit HPC, which enables a very kind of a natural and intuitive interaction between the user and assistant. So the prime use cases for this experience could be something like a conversational navigation, driver personalization, and in-car control. So this is something which we are doing. But I'm sure that looking at the cases in the autonomous mobility and others, there's much more to come, and all of us are investing on this. And in Gen AI is also a topic that we are focusing in Tech Center India, not only for the consumer product, but we are also using internally how to improve our own efficiency and productivity, be it cost and time to market being very critical for this industry.
Debashish, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Gen AI, but I'd appreciate if you could maybe focus more on the ER&D aspects of it, both from a product and a platform angle at both Renault Nissan globally and here as well for you in India.
I would say, as Lata said very rightly, in the process of car development, Gen AI is already playing a role across the development cycle. Let's say from conception one can imagine to have various styling options, the creative options generated by Gen AI. And then from a host of 300, 400 auto generated sketches, the styling guy or the design guy could further render beautiful options. So right from styling, then I say that seamlessly going into AutoCAD generation, so you could have a Gen AI making generative drawings for you, 3D models for you, and that's how it enters into the design phase. Then, when you go from design, you go into validation phase. Of course, you have a simulation, lot of simulation, and with high process computing coming, Gen AI is a key enabler to reduce the simulation time,
Mm.
and you could literally have the full digital mock-up of the car, and you can simulate various types of performances, NVH, crash, durability in a digital twin environment, which is nothing but the virtual reality of a real car, to simulate the performances of the car with high process computing, but also the intelligence brought by AI to give you quick solutions, which enables the expert, to focus on optimization,
Yeah.
right? And to give a very optimized solution, which is very competitive. So simulation is another area which is picking up, right? And then thanks to this digital phase with lot of involvement of AI, you are able to reduce the prototypes, the physical prototypes which you actually need to prove a car, substantially reducing the development cost of car building. But in the process, you are also accelerating the digital phase of the project, because you're proving out the car with all its performances at the digital stage. But
Yeah.
this goes for product. Same applies for production engineering, where you can literally have the digital twin of your assembly plant, and you can have your entire production line set up to simulate the car, simulate the production processes. So I would say we are in an era of AI and digital twin, which is nothing but the metaverse in the engineering world, to go hand in hand to crash the development time of the car. Okay. And then, of course, when you industrialize the car and it goes into the market, then the customer facing experience, as Lata rightly pointed out, that the usage of the customer can be recorded in the cloud, and that can feed back to your development cycle to make cars even better, adapt to the customer taste and the driving habits. So
Yeah.
the closed looping of real life situation feeding back to the development cycle will make our cars much better and more adapted to the driving conditions, and the behaviors of the customer. So I
Mm.
see AI is everywhere, as my colleague said, right from sketching to customer facing situations, to analyze warranty data, but also analyze the customer habits. So this is where I see there will be a lot of compression in the overall development cycle of the car. We are already talking a compression of more than 30%. So a car could probably, which takes around 3 years, but I know the Chinese are doing in 2 years. They're already talking about 1.5 years, and I think the AI will play a major role in this. But also one thing which we have to understand, it's not only these technologies but the way we do the work. So we have to evolve the way we are working in the teams, right? So there is the agile concept of car development, then we have car in multiple zones, and then each zone is working in an agile manner, where it's a team of product, process, the purchasing guy, all are working together. So I think it's not only the technology of AI or the digital twin, but also we have to reorganize ourselves in the way we manage our teams. And
Thank you,
that's the
Debashish.
whole evolution which is happening in order to enable the power of AI for quick time to market for our automotive cars of the future.
Got it. And actually, Debashish touched on two of the five megatrends that we put out in our report, both generative AI and digital twins. And I promise I did not coach Debashish on that, and we'll come to that in a second. Kishore, you have the advantage of going last or the disadvantage. Is there anything else that you want to add to what is left, that Gen AI can be a game changer from your perspective, both as a CEO of a provider, but also the chair of the ER&D Council?
Actually, Latha and Debashis have covered it in great detail. I completely agree. I think they have covered end to end. Maybe a little bit I may want to add at all is the one of the key point now, the key trend is going to be personalization of the car. And I think uh, there, as well as what earlier Debashis talked about, is monetization of the data. So what services can be provided depending upon the different people. That is very important, and AI will help in a significant way in that. That's an area where it will be very useful. I mean, I'll just give you one very quick example. I mean, very different. We invested into a gaming company which is only into a gaming in the car. So when you are in the car, you can play the game only in the car, right? You can't play the game when you are driving. So the point is, when you are charging the car, like in US, only 30% people have a charging at home. So 70% people will go out and charge. So when they do that, there are things they can do. So one of the thing is gaming. Then typically that would be at the lunchtime. They can order a pizza or they can order something else. They can do few transactions. So understanding not only the driver but the occupant is the data we create out of this, and that becomes a way to do this. So there are multiple use cases will come up. There is no one, but the point is that it's a really a very different world which will get created.
Super. Let's move to perhaps a different theme, and Debashish, I'll come to you. I read about the fact that you have finished 15 years in India, and I heard you talk about the continued growth that you foresee in the kind of work and the people that your centers will have in India. How is RNTBCI leveraging the talent and expertise available in India to drive these global advancements that we've all spoken about, right? So away just from local products to being actually a key architect of global products, or champions of global competencies. Talk to me a little bit about that, please.
So, Snehal, you're quite right. 80 to 85% of our activities are supporting global car development projects for Renault and Nissan. And for sure, the key point here is India as a talent market is having both skill and scale, which no other destination can provide. And that's how you can see us growing to 10,000 plus company. What is important is to keep abreast with the technology and do a very good skill up program, and that is the fundamental. Okay, so we are focusing not only on upgrading the skills of current people. I give you a classic example. We had a team of powertrain engineers trained on ICE technology, and then we had to literally reskill them on hybrids and EVs, so reskilling of the people is also important, because they have the necessary automotive knowledge and how you can reskill them on a new technology. Also, we have to also skill them on new technologies, as we also discussed about the various mega trends. So these programs are extremely important for any GCC in India, Global Capability Center, to have a very robust skill development program. Also, we have to take fresh talent from universities. So we are co-creating curricula in order to have industry ready students, right? So I give you example that we have launched MTech program on smart mobility with VIT. This is an example where postgraduates are sort of getting exposure on the latest trends of automotive industry, be it electrification, connectivity, but also the digital twin, the Gen AI, etc. So that these MTech students, when they join, they have a good perspective of what are the needs of the automotive industry, right? And of course, since we are the third largest car market in the world, we already have abundance of talent who are already experimented. We have a lot of talent who have already launched cars in their career span, right? So what I would say is that India as a talent market is able to provide fresh engineers. We in industry are working hand in hand to make them industry ready. It's work not finished. There's a lot to do. And at the same time, we have many experienced professionals who are available in order to let us grow. And of course, a strong in-house skilling program to reskill people is absolutely fundamental. That's how we are able to scale up and do all these global projects for Renault and Nissan.
Okay, wonderful. Lata, it would be awesome to also hear a little bit about, what are some of the success stories of innovation that Continental TCI has delivered. I know you mentioned passing a little bit about what's been under development, but maybe you can elaborate on a couple of examples that you're the most proud of from Continental TCI here in India.
Okay, so just to give a view on what Tech Center India do, we cater majority into the global market, but we also serve the needs of the local market. Yeah, that's the cluster. And each business area within the TCI organization has teams catering to different regions and different customers. There are large number of teams. For example, TCI houses one of the largest teams in terms of autonomous mobility, and majority of the development of radar as a product for Continental Global is done in India. So similarly, for other business areas, for example, high performance computers, which are the central elements of the server-based vehicle architecture, we have larger teams based out of India. And I think with the SDV coming in, we see that we will have much more opportunities in this area. So just to talk about maybe a couple of innovations here. One is, as I mentioned, safety of two-wheelers is something which is close to our heart, and it's a high priority because a lot of accidents in India happen with two-wheelers. And TCI was in the forefront of introducing something what we call as a mini map, which is a single channel ABS, which has been developed for smaller motorcycles and scooters. So this particular system is interesting because it actually prevents that front wheel from locking up. So it can actually avoid crashes and or the vehicle becoming unstable. So this is this is a very effective in a combination with a mechanical drum brake on the rear wheel. So this is one of the affordable innovations that we did in India. And currently, again, coming to the two-wheeler, we are now taking the lead of sophisticated technologies of advanced driver assistance systems for two-wheelers. So they are called ARAS, and which includes the features of for adaptive control, adaptive cruise control, autonomous, the emergency braking part, the forward collision warning, lane departure warning. So many of these features, which is there, including a blind spot detection in the four-wheeler, we are trying to bring it in the two-wheeler, and we are working also with a lot of OEs here. So these are some of the innovations which are there, but there are many which are in progress, as well as we already have. We also work with some of the global partners as well as the ecosystem partners.
Much needed, Lata, I guess, from an Indian context. Absolutely. Kishore, someone that works across multiple geographies and you serve clients and customers across the globe, help me understand a little bit of the regulatory framework and what are some of the regulatory developments that impact our technology strategies that us within the India ER&D ecosystem, whether OEM, whether tier one, whether provider, need to be far more knowledgeable and sharper about.
Before I coming back, can I take on this GCC's part? I
Sure.
think India has really very absolutely for scale and competency. There's no other place. But I believe there is a much bigger advantage and possibilities for Indian GCCs, as many of them have started going down that path. But one of the key part, I believe, is the research and innovation, what we can do. There is a huge possibility for actual research to happen, actual innovation to happen. Innovation can happen for the market. Innovation can happen for the global market, but the research can also happen. And I think India needs to really go up that part. And that is the next stage which actually will put us in a really pole position. And that is where the Indian GCCs, I'm sure, will move forward in years to come. So that's the only one point I wanted to make. Going back to the second about the part of the regulatory part, I think this is a big element in terms of regular compliances, because you know uh, different countries have gone with the different compliances, and there are a lot of standardization which have happened. Like Euro has a standardization, Europe has this. Unfortunately, many other companies, even including India, we don't have real standards for us. And it's not necessarily that we have to have our own, it could be aligned, but some of those could possibly help the industry. And it also helps sometimes taking a lead, because otherwise most of these standards have come out of Europe. So, even not even US. So I think, and specifically in these new areas, what is happening? I mean, there are, of course, global forums where we all are participating. We as a company also participate in global standards building. So the part is this compliances is in the area which is not clearly known. For example, how do we homologate basically autonomous vehicle? There are certain guidelines, but the way it will work is still there are a lot of legal issues which are unresolved. There is a lot of things which are still unresolved, and how you can get it done fast is still a challenge. I mean, I was just thinking, with all this happening, with all this China big storage, with all this, they're thinking by the 2030 only 10% of the vehicle will be autonomous, right? Including robotaxi and this. So the point is there is a huge challenge in terms of being it safer and this. So I guess what Lata also mentioned initially, the safety, security is going to be very important from that perspective. And I do believe that it's very important for a country like India, where the deaths on the road are really very high. So having those regulations, etc., will be very safety oriented, safety driven, will be very, very important. I think players like KPIT, players like India, is plays a unique role, because we understand compliances in all the parts of the world. And so basically, how do you really get it across, and how you can really uh, uh, do that becomes a very, very important factor. For many companies, we help in that journey also. So it's a very, very important part. And there are new chemistries which are coming. For example, on the innovation side, we were talking about. So we came up with a sodium battery, for India, which will be a unique for the Indian market, I guess, will be a very differentiated dish. So many of these, the compliances, if I had to put it, they are evolving for specifically, because these are not necessarily global, right? Ultimately, it has to be accepted in a local way. So I think some rationalization globally will be more efficient, but at the same time, local ecosystem has to also work more efficiently to see what is required for that specifically geography.
Wonderful. Why don't we talk a little bit as we come towards the end of our conversation in a bit around the commercial aspects. And Debashish, I'll start with you. You mentioned India is the third largest automotive market. Lata mentioned we're the largest two-wheeler market. And having had the experience of seeing both Europe and Asia with Japan from Renault, Nissan's perspective, etc., and the high adoption of EVs that we see. What lessons can India learn in being able to drive greater EV adoption? We've seen that there was a big push to EV in India. People went that way. Then it kind of has supposedly started to slow down a little bit. Is there anything holding us back as a local market to really drive EV adoption?
So, Snehal, good question. Basically, if India has to make big progress in electrification, I think India is still owning a very small part of the EV value chain. right? So we still have to import the cells of the batteries. The power electronic components are still imported, and the motors are picking up, but a significant part of electrical electronics and battery components are imported. So we have to really master the EV value chain in India to make it affordable. Today we are not. We are not. So uh, the industry and the government all have to work together in tandem. Of course, the PLI schemes is a big asset which government has put forward, but I think more has to be done. We have to go in the mindset of going beyond assemblies, but also to have our semiconductors and also the cell chemistry mastered, as Kishore said, and more adapted to the needs of the Indian customer, the Indian environment. So, what is holding us, if you rightly say, is not the availability of talent or the know-how, but it is the ecosystem of India which has to catch up a lot in mastering the EV value chain in order to make it affordable for the Indian customers. Okay. And the second part is, of course, the infrastructure part, where both industry and government has to work together on massively putting plugs across India, which is not a mean task. It's a huge task, but I think a lot of efforts is being done by the government, by the oil companies themselves, and with public-private partnership to increase the network, not only within the cities but also the highways connecting big cities. So that's my take. And as Kishore rightly said, the intermediate could be alternate fuels like CNG, LPG, hydrogen for heavy vehicles, and the hybrids, which could be a sort of a intermediate step before we catch up on the EV value chain on one side and the infrastructure on the other side.
Got it. Got it. Lata, when we look at the commercial market for India, when I say commercial, I mean from not just commercial vehicles, but broadly India's commercial market. You mentioned some of the things that you're working on for the two-wheeler market, right? Are there
Yeah.
other things that you are knocking on the door of Continental leadership in HQ to say, hey, here's an opportunity for India that can allow us to really change the way India and mobility happen from an automotive angle?
I'm optimistic. I would say everything is an opportunity for India. Yeah, but nevertheless, I think see we are offering a diverse mix of market opportunities in whichever way we can, and also the talent pool, which has been attractive for Continental to invest in India. And over the years, we have not only played the role as a growing automotive hub, but also sought after engineering location for creating value. So, and I think it's thanks to the very strong ecosystem that we have, a kind of a progressive legislation could be better, but I would still say it is progressive, and also the engineering talent and the co-creation that we are able to do with partners, maybe like KPIT and with the cus OEMs like Renault. I think there is a lot of things which we could do. So the tech center is an example of where we are actually catering to all the business areas, and we are also now setting up centers of excellences in the new technologies, which I think India can drive it. Like whether it is we are talking about AI or cloud or machine learning or cyber security, I think we are see automotive normally is a legacy industry where probably the development had started in Germany or US, and then something comes to India, so there is a lag. But the advantage is that some of these new technologies which have come, which is even domain agnostic, I would call, we are equally or better prepared than many of the locations. So that's an advantage which we can bring into the table. The second thing is that TCI is also the headquarters of the Global Software and System Academies, whose charter is reskilling, upskilling employees to manage the transformation which is happening in the industry to a software centric one. So, this responsibility for TCI is not only for India, but for the entire globe, entire continental, not even automotive. It goes to tires and even Contitech. So, basically, summarizing, I would say that my focus in our organization is on creating value to the corporation, and I'm very confident that we continue to grow, and my focus is always value growth more than the number growth.
Wonderful. Kishore, KPIT's tagline is reimagining mobility.
Absolutely.
Now, what is your thinking on the increasing role of ER&D, and given the specific areas of increased complexity? We heard about the processor-based central software. Are there other areas specifically where labs and other higher-end research and design infrastructure can really help bring this vision of reimagining mobility to life for KPIT and for the broader ecosystem?
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, both Debashish and Lata spoke about what they could do and ecosystem. But I think the one important part in that, I would double down on the research part, labs, infrastructure for that. Because, see, I will give you an example. Uh, and that's a very important part of the values also, sustainability. We say cleaner, smarter, safer world. So the materials part, like India has never been really forefront on the materials, but the
Yeah.
AI allows you to really get that access and really shorten that cycle of learning
Hmm.
and creating innovation. I think so. From our perspective, what we look at it is how we can really work with the global players and the industry mainly, and really think about what will be right for the client and right for that region, and then what we can bring to them. So from that perspective, I really believe research is one part, the future part, what we can bring to the table. So for example, right now, if you really look at just I talked about uh, uh, operating system, etc. I think in India, for example, we talked about starting how the hydrogen could be done. For example, from the agri waste, right? How we can create different kind of uh, uh, parts like fuel cell, how we can create in a different way for these markets. So, or for two wheelers, what Lata was talking about, coming up with the first time the navigation solution for two wheelers.
Yeah.
It's only turn by turn changes, which has been adopted by global companies. So I think my view is that reimagining is only about what you can think about the future, and really put your resources, research, innovation on that. And AI brings a big value to this part of the process.
You
And
touched sorry, please go on.
and one of the major part of this is people, and we are really pushing or creating that kind of a culture in the organization which allows them to do this, because I mean everybody knows it is not a top down process. How do you really create this thinking? And we have 14,000 people globally in different parts of the world, 12 development center. How do we look at them as people who can create a new thinking depending upon their background in this? I think that is exactly what we are trying to do.
Wonderful. You touched upon one of the other mega trends of sustainability that was in our report, and the other one also was around population and skill inversion that's happening with major markets going through a trend of lower fertility rates, increased retirement, lack of people entering STEM, creating a dividend for us. So I think we are there are a couple very quick one-liner questions I will pose, but before that, I just will take a moment to summarize what I've heard. I think I've heard that the future is nothing but bright. There's a very large sense of optimism I've heard from all of you. There is what I call the 3S, syndrome. We have skills, we have scale, and I'd like to add the word speed. That can, I think, really be a determinant for India to take center stage. However, as Kishore said in the very beginning, there is competition. There is the element of being able to drive efficiencies with competition that comes from markets like China in what they're doing to the global auto space. But a lot of movement across the areas of personalization, softwareization of the car by itself, and obviously the leverage and the value of tools like Gen AI to bring. And to Kishore's point is how do we make India a genuine hotbed of research and innovation, to almost add to our natural ability to capitalize on the software side of the world. I wanted to ask each of you a one-sentence response to this question. And I will start with the lady in the panel first. What are you most excited about for 2025? It could be about you, it could be about your company, anything. What are you most excited about 2025?
Endless possibilities.
Endless possibilities. Debashish, same to you.
I would say time to market is in the top of the mind. How to have quicker time to market, but still have the customer experience, the best of the customer experience.
Quick time to market with superior customer experience. Kishore?
I think we are looking at how we can reduce the cost of the total and time of the overall process of the automaking by at least 1/3 each. How we can contribute in multiple ways in getting that done. And secondly is how do we help in increasing, because the number of cars on the road are going to be the same. So how we can increase the potential to increase their revenue from services. These are the two parts.
Wonderful. One more one-liner, if I could. ADAS level 4, 50% penetration. By what year, Lata?
Difficult one. I wish I had a crystal ball in front of me. Yeah,
Do you want to
maybe
take a punt?
2030.
2030. Debashish?
I think answer in two parts, India and the rest of the world. India maybe doesn't require, it needs a different type of ADAS for the customers. And for the rest of the world, I'll stick to what Lata said.
Okay. Kishore?
No, if it is a 50%, I mean, I was just at have some benefit of knowing the numbers somewhere. So I don't think it will be before 2035.
Understood. And I think, as Debashish said, how ADAS gets implemented in markets like India and some specific cities would be by itself a significant material win. Call it Gen AI, call it what you would. But I wanted to thank each one of you for being so kind and generous with your time, with your candid inputs, and for sharing the perspective that you have shared. I know it's immensely valuable, not just to the automotive ecosystem, but to the broader ER&D space as we build out these sectoral roundtables and really drive the potential that India can portray from an innovation hub, from the ability to scale and support that. Thank you all for your time very much. I really, really appreciate it. And before we go, I also wanted to request the users that will see, hear, read about this to please reach out to us with your thoughts and comments. This is not a one-off discussion. We want to use this forum to engage with the broader youth, the talent of this country, as well as folks involved in the ecosystem to really drive meaningful impact and change for India, with NASSCOM, and for all the players there. So Kishore, thank you again. Debashish, thank you. Lata, thank you very much.
Thank you, Snell. Thank you, Debashish and Lata. Thank you.
Thank you, Lata and Kishore. Bye.
Thank you.